So behind me is a car that has largely been on the perimeter of all these Japanese cars that we've grown to love over the past, I don't know, 20, 25 years, whether it was Gran Turismo, Initial D, Best Motoring. We skipped on the Mitsubishi GTO in a big way. Now, of course, over here we got the DSMs and we got the Dodge Stealth, the 3000 GT, but this GTO is a special edition that Mitsubishi made less than 1,000 of that has a few important changes that should make a big difference. So let's go for a drive. All right, 3000 GT. No, this is not what that is. Mitsubishi GTO. The exact same car as the 3000 GT. But of course, this one is an MR. And I'll go over what changes they made in a moment here. But first, I just want to get acquainted because this build that Adam's done here over a pretty short period of time is pretty cool. And in my opinion, you guys will see with all the modifications he's made, he's kind of just built on what, to me, the GTO is all about. And even if you've never driven the car, you can look at a spec sheet and just see like, oh yeah, this to me is a grand touring car. It's got a 3-liter twin-turbo V6 iron block, aluminum heads, pretty standard for the time, and it's got factory all-wheel drive. It's got an all-wheel drive system. I guess the weight goes along with the transverse mounted V6. So that is kind of the Achilles heel of this entire vehicle. But that doesn't necessarily mean it needs to keep it from being a car that can actually handle and a car that can drive like you'd want, you know, any Japanese sports car from this era to handle. Okay. The torque is ridiculous. I mean, you just touch the throttle and there's huge torque. All right. Sign of a good GT car, when you're going what you think to be a completely and totally reasonable speed, and then you look down at the speedo and you're like, this is gonna get me into some trouble. Wow, this is cool. Okay, super light steering, very direct steering rack, not a whole ton of feel on center, but then as soon as you get some load into the tires, then some feel comes through. There's definitely an immediate sense though that you've got a ton of weight over the front axle for sure. I mean, that's inescapable. Super heavy clutch. So it's got an ACT street strip clutch in it. Yeah, I mean, first impressions, it's all about torque. Of course, the Z32's rear wheel drive, it'll kick the rear end out, so they both have torque turbos that spool up super quick, but this will never like snap and catch you off guard, which to a lot of people kind of eliminates some of the fun, some of the edge of the car that the car has, and I get that, it does, it definitely does, but all-wheel drive, that's what Mitsubishi was doing at the time. Wow. The response is even quicker when, obviously, if you're at 5,000 RPM. The MR makes a few important changes. And it's kind of ironic given this era of, well, the factory cars, the standard cars had rear wheel steering, they had electronically controlled suspension, active aero. It was, I don't want to say ahead of its time, but all these Japanese manufacturers were pushing boundaries in that way and very tech heavy. The MR takes away the rear wheel steering, it takes away the electronically controlled suspension, it takes away the active aero, and here's the kicker, you guys, it takes away ABS. That would never fly today. So the goal, obviously, with that list is basically just weight savings. A little bit more of a hardcore driving experience, a little bit more buckled down. That's what it should feel like. And then, of course, these cars were 276 horsepower per the gentleman's agreement back in the day. But we all know the North American 3000 GTs were rated at 320. So That's the accurate number. Will it have a tendency to maybe have a little bit more lift-off oversteer or any oversteer without the rear steer? Perhaps, you know, whether or not I'm gonna feel that on the street today, probably not, but those are the changes. Subtle. Oh, and I forgot, actually, one of the most important, shorter gearing with the Japanese gearbox. Actually, that's probably the most important change here. So all in, the MR shaves between 50 to 70 pounds, a number that's admittedly less important than the reduced complexity of a car that's almost 30 years old. Even still, at roughly 3,600 pounds, it's about 200 pounds heavier than a base R33 GTR. That wouldn't stop the MR from inching past the GTR in the quarter mile on best motoring back in the day. I promise you, every GTO owner has that clip queued up to play on their phone. Okay, second, third time around, the clutch is not as heavy as I initially expected. All of these modern cars have softened us up just a little too much. Gearing's nice though. I mean, first gear only goes up to 60 kilometers an hour, 40 miles an hour. Yeah, I mean, by the time you're at 100 kilometers an hour, you're in third gear. That's amazing. I mean, you actually get to row gears. I mean, having no ABS, yeah, that's not something I really needed. How much weight that takes out? It's probably like 5 pounds. It's like Ferrari putting a sticker instead of a badge on a car. It's a little bit comical, but yeah, it's a bit more hardcore, which is kind of cool. It feels solid. The suspension here is really comfortable. The one thing though, and I don't know if Adam's upgraded his sway bars, but there's not a lot of body roll. There's not as much as I would have expected. Granted, okay, it's no Evo 5. It's no Evo 7, 8, whatever, you know, enter your rally spec 90s car. It's not that in terms of agility, but it feels great. We've got no kind of weird feeling rear end due to the rear steer. Even though in certain scenarios, especially really tight corners, that would make it feel like kind of more agile, more eager to change direction. But at high speed, I would have a tendency to not want rear steer. And that's how I would want to drive a GTO. So it just makes sense. I have missed a couple gears. The gear shifter is not the greatest. Like second to third, it doesn't perfectly feed me into the next gear and downshifting, but once you get the hang of it, it feels robust. Nothing in this car is like dainty feeling.
I'm Adam Lewis, and this is my 1997 Mitsubishi GTO MR. It was built with my friend Andy Roffel at Mirror Image Auto, and together we put together my dream. I've wanted this car basically since I was 12 years old. Started playing Gran Turismo. My cousin took me in his lowrider to go buy the game. And this was the first car. I remember on the first day I was playing that game, and this is the car I wanted. No one knew what it was. I've had a few really cool Japanese cars. My first car was an FCRX7. Later in life, I got an FDRX7. Just kind of sampled a little bit of everything. I had a Subaru STI for a while. Just really wanted something weird. Wanted something that didn't deserve the hate, you know, wanted something that was kind of sort of unloved that people didn't know about. So the car was pretty rough. I knew mechanically it probably was in pretty good shape, but I mean, you kind of roll the dice with any of these Japanese purchases. The front bumper looked like leather. It was all sun faded everywhere. It looked like it had been sitting by the ocean or something like that. And I kind of lucked out because in Japan, someone had slapped a 3000 GT garnish on the back of it. So I think everyone kind of passed it by thinking like, oh, it was bad shape, it's a 3000 GT. I searched up the VIN and realized it was a GTO MR, and there was less than 1,000 of them made. So yeah, I ended up with one of the rarest models of all and just had to snatch it up. I love cars, but I'm kind of fumbly when it comes to my hands and doing things on my own. And my other cars growing up, you know, I did all the work myself, but I really wanted this one to be just perfect. So I did spreadsheets. So in work, I manage complex projects at work. So I kind of used that same sort of philosophy in building this car. I basically built the car on a spreadsheet for 2 years, was thinking about it for 20 years before that, before I'd even bought the vehicle. So I had a parts list of everything I wanted to do, how I wanted it to look, and then I found the car, and then I brought it over. I think I drove it like 100 feet into the shop, and then it was just like immediately take it apart and start restoring it. I think if you weren't one of my best friends, like Andy thankfully was, I probably would have drove you nuts as far as like my attention to detail. But as I said, I built this car with a few friends, and you know, they're willing to be patient with me, and they kind of appreciated that attention to detail and really just working on it together. Yeah, I have a nose lift in the car. This was another thing that Andy at Mirror Image kind of introduced me to. So there's a tank in the back, like you would have with airbags, except I'm running on Teen suspensions. I'm running on Teen Flex Z's, but then on top of it, there's a little piece that sits on top that just pushes up the front of the car. And you can get it on all 4 points as well, but I just wanted it so I didn't break the lip and bust it. So it kind of gives you the best of both worlds. I'm not able to go lower, but I'm able to go up, and then my driveway's got a hell of a rake on it too, so it kind of helps me get out of the driveway.
That's awesome.
And it was more of a result of me hitting the bumper once and then realizing that I needed this. So I just didn't want to raise it up entirely.
Yeah, the one modification that was not on your spreadsheet beforehand.
The one modification, yeah, that one. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Basically.
I mean, some things you do have to drive the car for some mods to figure out what it needs.
And that's,
you know?
I would like to say that too. Like there's a point of like pre-planning everything, and then there's a point of, you know, realizing what you actually need when you drive it. And so there's been a couple phases with this. There was one big phase where we just got everything restored and looking nice. I wanted to make sure I had a car that I loved first. And then over the last couple of years, I've had it for 3 years now, we've just been progressively adding things. But I've done basically most of the efficiency mods, so full exhaust and intercoolers and a bunch of suspension work. And the next phase is I'm going to be doing a brake upgrade. We're going to be doing some drivetrain upgrades, and then just a little bit of strengthening in the engine internals so that I can run a little bit higher boost level without worrying about it. I don't want to go too crazy for it. I want it to be reliable. I want it to be something we can go on road trips with and just enjoy. It's definitely a GT car. You know, it's designed for doing highway travel at high speed and you know, really being a comfortable vehicle. And for myself, you know, these cars are heavy. I've never run into a scenario with it where I'm like, oh damn, this thing is heavy and sluggish. It's never really been like that for me. I think it's really just making sure it's set up properly and that, you know, the weight's transferring properly and whatnot. But it's, you know, it's not a Honda Civic, it's not an FCRX7, it's a bigger car, and I'm a bigger guy too, so it would make sense for me to have a small little vehicle. So again, I'm into reliability and making sure that this is just gonna last me forever, because this is my life car. This is a vehicle that I'm never wanting to sell. I wanna, you know, keep it till the day I die, and that was always the plan with it. So everything I do is kind of slow and methodical, but eventually we'll get there and it'll be, you know, my kind of home-built supercar. So,
yeah, 100%. Yeah. Makes sense. Awesome. Well, thanks for your time, man.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, you guys, check them out. Link in the description.
Thank you.
Oh, the turbo noises too. Oh yeah, there we go. Oh yeah, okay. I mean, what would I change? I think Adam's right in going brakes next. I don't think it really needs it, but yeah, I mean, with this gearing and everything and the torque, it is so easy to speed in this car. I mean, even powering out of some of these lower speed corners, it's not as if the all-wheel drive system is having a tendency to push. Now, I'm sure in the wet, you could absolutely squeeze that out of this, and that's what it's going to have a tendency to do, is understeer. That's just basic math and weight distribution, but I've heard, according to the internet, these in default will send about 55% of the torque to the rear and then 45 to the front. It's a viscous center differential. At the time, I mean, that's what the Evo had as well, effectively, until the later ones brought in the crazy torque vectoring. So, you know, had this gone on to live a longer life, it probably would have become a real modern GTR and NSX fighter, but it just never was perceived at that level. And I think that's due in large part because this never got the pop culture treatment that the other cars got. That's really what it comes down to. It's a lot of that is what separates the cars that shoot up to $100,000, $150,000 to the ones that kind of stay where this car has, which is, yeah, they have a niche cult following, but they're not like known at a broader level. Yeah, in a lot of ways, this definitely compares to the Z32 300ZX in my mind. And actually, before this video, in my mind, I just thought the Z32 300ZX, specifically the two-seater twin-turbo manual cars, obviously, had like shot up in value and kind of kept up, you know, at least with R32, R33 GTRs, maybe a little bit below that, you know, 25, 30K. No, you can still get them for 15,000 US all day long. Now, of course, there are outliers to that, and that's the same with the GTO. This is not what I was expecting, you know. Generally, when you see one of these cars that isn't an NSX, a R33 GTR, FD RX-7, you think, hey, maybe the person just bought it because it could have been a bit more of a budget option, because most of them are absolute trash. But this is not the case. This is very clearly Adam's forever car, and it shows in the attention to detail. It's pretty cool. Yeah, you can heel toe, it just takes a second. It's just that clutch. The pedals are in a perfect position. Driving position is absolutely perfect. You got the low roof line too. I mean, these cars look so cool. And even if, I mean, guys, ride this line with me for a second. If you squint, if you blur your eyes just a little bit and look at the front end with these fixed headlights, NSX, anyone? 05 NSX? Maybe? No? Okay. Maybe it's just me. What a car though. Thanks, Adam, for the seat time. Appreciate it. You guys can go follow him on Instagram. All the stuff will be in the description. We'll see you soon.